If you like my videos, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment below if you have any questions. So the map that I'm running in the background is a T16 waste pool. I don't remember exactly the mods, but this is just to show you what to expect from the build, as the build is mainly designed around doing the maps, so you can see how the build performs on the mapping. And I will be picking up the loot, doing my alphas. So you should watch the whole video of the map run, and you should decide for yourself, do you like the clear speed or you don't. There's plenty of timestamps in the video for you to click on it and just take you to the interesting parts. So for now, just enjoy the video and I will see you after the map.
Just need a moment to catch my breath.
There's a lot of interesting timestamps, so skip the timestamp that you're interested in the most, but make sure to check out the question and answer ones. There's gonna be a lot of small details that you might miss and have troubles with it. So this is a quick demonstration how the Flicker Strike works if you never played a Flicker Strike build. To put it simply, you press the button and the Flicker Strike changes from one mob to another. You have no control over it, so you just tap the button and everything around the proximity area just gonna start dying because of our melee splash damage on top of that. On top of that, the Flicker Strike will consume frenzy charges, so you need to have a good stable source of generating frenzy charges while mapping. So the build design was something like an affordable Flicker Strike, so I could do like a decent or like a fast mapper on like a medium budget because I didn't get too many lucky drops. So this is my Atlas passive tree. You can copy it if you want. So the main goal that I'm doing, I want to do Alpha because I want to do some master missions. I'm farming legions. I have all of the strong boxes, and I'm farming harvest, and I'm farming expedition. That's the three main contents that I'm farming on this build. From the bandits, we're choosing to help a little. So what's about Pantheon? So as a minor node, we're gonna be using Soul of Aberrant because we just don't want to deal with the burning ground, and on top of that, the less duration of unite is great for us. For the major gods, we have two choices. If you have issues with the stone, stick with the Brine King. If you manage to get yourself a stone on one of your flasks, I can find it over here, and a boot enchant as well, this will give you 100%. So you would skip the Brine King and go Soul of Arakali. Since Trickster got a nice rework in 3.19, I'm gonna talk a little about the Ascendancy. So the first point, we're gonna go in the Polymath. The Polymath gives us 3% more damage for each different type of mastery that we're allocating. So what does that mean? It means a life mastery will give us a 3%, another 3% will give us a leech mastery. But if you take another life mastery, you will not get the bonus. So you have to pick up a lot of different masteries to stack up this bonus. And on top of that, the recovery life, such as ES, life, and mana, are instant. So as soon as you kill something, your life and mana will go up, because that's not a regen, that's an instant life recovery. So the second node that we're going to be taking is On Step Ahead, and this node says your action speed is at least 108%. So what does that mean? It means you cannot be frozen, you cannot be chilled, the temporal chains are not working on you at all. There are some modifiers, such as those black zombies that leave the black tar. This will slow you down. The same thing is, there's a boss in Arachnid Tomb that stacks webs on you. This will slow you down as well. But generally, it's a nice quality of life. The third passive, the ascendancy points, is Swift Killer. We just get +2 frenzy charges. There's not much to it. And the last point is gonna be the Eternal Lap, or the Uber Lap. It's gonna be Heartstopper. So this is a rotational buff that you can see over here. So we're taking 40% less from damage over time. Now we're just taking less damage from hits. So you can think about it. It's like your steel skin on your left mouse. It's over here, then it goes on a cooldown, then you can press it again. So it's like a buff every 5 seconds that you're just gonna take less damage from hits. So for your flask, the only two recommended flasks I would say that are mandatory is a life flask with the immune blood, and I highly recommend getting the instant recovery life on low life, because whenever we get like on a low life, you press the flask and your life goes instantly up. And Halloween life flask is the best flask out of all of the life flasks, so always use a Halloween life flask. The second flask that I would say is a mandatory is Taste of Hate, and you're looking for the physical damage from hits taken as a cold as highest as you can. The other flasks are quite flexible. I'm using a topaz for the reduced damage from lightning, and I have a crafted chance to avoid being stunned. I'm using a ruby to get another less fire damage taken and immune to corrupting blood and bleeding, and I'm using a jade flask for the extra evasion, and I have a shock immune. But you could replace the jade flask with the quicksilver if you want the extra movement speed, if you're one of those zoomy people. But since we're playing already a Freaker Strike, I would say just having a jade flask is well better option for you. Or you can just go full damage such as Bottle Fate, Wise Oak and something else. So generally the flasks are up to you. For your helmet, you're trying to buy a basic rare, ideally an evasion base with the enchantment increased Flicker Strike damage per frenzy charges, and then you wanna use Eater of the Words for the increased mana reservation skills. These are mandatory, because otherwise you will have issues with the mana. And then you wanna craft it. I crafted myself the helmet with the essence of the life, and I was just spamming it until I get something useful such as stats, life, maybe some rest, and had an open prefix so I could craft myself the +2 melee strike range, and had an open suffix for my aspect of the cat. It took me about 10 essence, so for our amulet slot we're just gonna be using a Pandemonious unique amulet. This is great for our build as it provides us with the cold pen blind on hit, then it provides like reduced action speed on the monsters. It gives us some increased cold damage, dexterity and cold rest. And the charisma anointment is mandatory. On top of that, we can apply 20 quality with the elemental damage modifiers. Things you're looking for something like life, resistance, open prefix, so we can craft the non-channeling skills. And you're doing the same thing on the other ring. If you can afford it, you can get the implicit modifiers that adds the flat damage per the frenzy charges, but depending on the price. This ring is a self-crafted, and I would say I was very lucky because I slammed a Veil Chaos Orb I think 4 times, and I got this with an open prefix, so I was quite lucky. For your belt slot, you're looking to get some stats, life, maybe some chaos res, maybe some resistance. This is the very flexible slot, but I would highly recommend getting as much of like strength and chaos res on this item and whatever you can get on top of that. For your boot slot, we're just gonna be simply using Dark Ray vectors. Just buy the highest lightning resistance that you can. Your main body armor, we're gonna be using Farules as give us some life and it helps us generating the frenzy charges on a rotational buff of a year. For your gloves, you're looking for a very basic rare, and the implicit strike skills target one additional nearby enemy is a mandatory. This will improve our clear speed. The cold exposure is just more damage for us, so if you won't have the cold exposure, it's no big deal, but the strike skills are mandatory, and the rest of the stats is like life, resistance, chaos res, stats, whatever you can squeeze on your gloves. For main hand weapon, we're gonna be using Paradoxica, and the stats that we're looking in the priority is attack with this weapon penetrates 14% of elemental damage or higher. This is the lowest value. Then we're looking for increased critical strike chance, and the stats are the last one, whatever you're missing. And you wanna enchant it with the Harvest Bench that we get increased critical strike chance per 4 quality. For your shield, ideally you're looking for evasion base a shaper influence with the modifier, socketed games have 30% increase reservation efficacy. This is a mandatory mod, you cannot skip it, otherwise you will have issues with the mana. So here's our gem stuff for our helmet. We're gonna be using Blood Rage, Enlighten level 3, Precision, less duration. Make sure to socket your less duration when you're gonna be crafting your aspect of the card. So what does the less duration does? It decreases the aspect time, so the rotation of the frenzy charge is gonna be more often. If you remove it, we're back to 7 seconds, and if you pop the less duration, we're about 4 seconds, something like that. You don't have to have a for link over here because you don't want to be linking the less duration with the Blood Rage. You're just gonna reduce the duration on our Blood Rage. Here's the gem setup for our main body armor. We're gonna be using Divergent Flicker Strike. This will give us an increased teleport range. Then we're gonna be using Melee Splash. As well, we're gonna be using Divergent. This will decrease the less damage that we do to the surrounding targets to 1%. Then we're gonna be using added cold damage, multi-strike, ice bite, cold pen. And when you're fighting a map boss or any essence monster, I would swap the melee splash for elemental damage with attacks. Here's the gem setup for our gloves. We're gonna be using Mark on support, Assassin Mark. If you're having some kind of issues with the mana, let's say it costs more than 41 and you have less mana to cast it, you can always use a life tap. This will make your Assassin's Mark cost life instead of mana. And the last link is Steel Skin. Do not link your Steel Skin with the life tap, since we have 2 rings with the non-channeling craft and our Steel Skin costs 0. Here's the gem setup for your boot. We're gonna be using multiple totems, Protector, War Chief, Calling Strike. Here's the gem setup for our main weapon. We're gonna be using Lip Slam, keep it on level 1, Calling Strike and faster attack. Here's the gem setup for our shield. We're gonna be using Hatred, Grace, Herald of Ice. In this section of the video I will answer some common questions that I do get on my live stream. So what's the damage? It depends. If you're using just a flicker strike and you're just holding the flicker strike with the melee splash damage, you're looking at 2 mils. If you're gonna use the elemental damage with attacks and you're gonna summon your totems, you're looking at 4 mils. So probably another common question is gonna be, how expensive is the build? To tell you the truth, I don't know, since most of my gear is self-crafted using essence and other orbs, but I would estimate it between 10 to 15 divines depending the price of items on the market. So this can go a little bit higher or a little bit lower. It really depends, so please check the market for yourself. This modifier on Arch Nemesis rares is the most problematic for us, as it will remove all of the frenzy charges that we need. So I would recommend either you have to kill the rare quickly or just skip it. So in the gear section I told you that the Farules makes our quality of life of build way better because it generates the frenzy charges for us. But you can swap your Farules for Tabula if you cannot afford it, because the body armor is too expensive. You can use the Tabula, it's doable, but though the main problem is you're gonna have to start generating the charges, such as like popping your Blood Rage and getting the first kills, and you're gonna have to go and start clearing the map. Once you have to go out of and do some kind of trade, your frenzy charge is gonna expire, and then you have to start over again. That's the biggest problem if you don't have Farules. But T16 mapping on a Tabula, it's doable. You can do it if you cannot afford the chest. So what if you really like the build and you want to improve it, you want to invest more currency in it and you make it faster, better, you want to start doing bosses? So we go in a bit of a problem because we have to change our approach to the build, because currently I'm stacking flat cold damage from Ice Bite and added cold damage, and my Watcher cycle is located over here. When you wanna do a proper build, a proper flicker strike, and you wanna hit something like 10 mils on a flicker strike, you have to take a different approach. You wanna have a Paradoxica who has a high physical damage, and you wanna convert all of your physical damage into a cold. So that what does mean is you need to change your Watcher's Eye who converts physical damage to cold. You have to change this mastery that converts 40% of physical damage to cold, and you have to craft yourself from your bench convert. Just give me a second. Cold. Oh, I don't have the craft. Please. There we go. Oh, I have a fire, but there's a cold one when it says physical damage converted to cold 25%, and you can craft it on your gloves. So if you're having issues with a stun, well, there's like a couple things that we can do. Number one, you can get an enchant from Eternal Lab. I think it's 80% chance to avoid being stunned if you killed recently. And then you can have a Flask that has 50% chance to avoid being stunned during the Flask. This will give you 100%. Or you can simply just use Brine King for the time being if you're having issues with the stun. So another common question is, you're probably gonna be wondering, where do I put my aspect of the cat? There's two possibilities. You can do it on your helmet or on your gloves. An aspect of the cat takes a suffix on your item slot. So we're gonna be crafting this, for example, in this situation on my helmet, and we're gonna be socketing a less duration in helmet with the aspect of the cat. Do not make a mistake. Do not craft your aspect of the cat on a ring, on your belt, or even maybe on your shield, because you won't be able to socket your less duration, and then the duration of the aspect is going to be much longer. Therefore, you're generating less frenzy charges. So you might be wondering how good my defense are, since I'm like a evasion based character and I have a 100% chance to surprise spells, and on an end game I'm gonna have a 75% block chance because I'm missing couple nodes for the block chance over here. To tell you the truth, I have no issues yet with any monsters. Yes, occasionally some kind of rare is gonna bypass my block and the evasion, and I will get hit, but most likely you're gonna leech back like instantly, or if there's some trashy mobs around that rare, you will get the instant life from the Trickster polymath. So while you're mapping, even if you're gonna get a large hit, as long as there's like a lot of small mobs, you won't even see that because you instantly gonna recover most of your life. When you can notice that the lack of, let's call it lack of a bit of a defensive, when you're gonna be fighting those like very tough essence rare monsters. But tell you the truth, you shouldn't be fighting them because this build is not designed to have that kind of damage for those monsters. This is a map clearing build. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.